Welcome to Circuit Buddy. Today we'll be discussing about the geological time scale. It was developed by Giovanni, F. Duin in 1760. Now the age of Earth is 4600 million years from now, and first life appeared on Earth in 3500 million years from now. That means there was a gap of 1100 million years, with no life forms. So in the geological time scale, the time has been divided into various eras. So various eras are there, and the eras are subdivided into periods, and the periods are further subdivided into epochs. Now let us talk about the eras. To remember the eras in the correct sequence, we should have a very easy way so that we can memorize it for a long time. So for this, I have made a very easy trick for you. Just remember this phrase: AAPPMC. Let's see how it can help us to memorize. So first of all, A means Azoic era, which is basically 4600 million years ago. And if you talk about Azoic era, A means not, and Zoic means animals. It comes from the word zoon. So you can easily say that in this time period, in this era, no life forms existed. So that's why it is called the era of no life. Basically it was the time when Earth formed. So it is very easy to say that life will not be available at this point of time. After that, let us talk about the second A. The second A is for Archeozoic era. Now the Archeozoic era is somewhat 3500 million years, and this is the era in which the invisible life forms appeared, and that's why it is called the era of invisible life forms. So invisible means you cannot see it with your naked eyes. For this we have to use complex instruments, so that you can see them. Now after that we have the P, which means the Proterozoic era. So this is the Proterozoic era. And this Proterozoic era is 1000 to 3000 million years ago. And Protero means first or early. And you know very well this Zoic means animals, so that's why it is called the era of early life. Now let's talk about the next era, which is Paleozoic. Era. Now the Paleozoic era is somewhat in between 280 to 570 million years Okay, and paleo means ancient, and zoic means zoon or animals, and that's why it is called the era of ancient life. We will be talking about the life forms that occurred, that existed in these eras. But first of all, let us know the correct sequence of the eras and the tricks so that we can easily remember the eras in the correct sequence. Okay, after that we have N, which means it is the Mesozoic era, and this is the Mesozoic era, which is 135 to 225 million years ago from now. And the Mesozoic era is also called the era of the medievals, okay, or medieval life, era of medieval life. Okay, now, and the last one is C. The C is called the Cenozoic era. Now the Cenozoic era is the era of modern life. Okay, and if you talk about the time span, it is in between 0.01 to 65 million years ago. Okay, so these are the eras that are there. Now we'll be talking about the animals or the creatures that existed in these eras. In the Azoic era, there is no life form present, as the name suggests. Okay, so this is Azoic era with no life forms available. After that, we have the Archeozoic era. Archeo means ancient. Okay, in the Archeozoic era, the most important event that took place was the origin of prokaryotes. So, the origin of prokaryotes. Okay, now after Archeozoic we have the Proterozoic. It is the first or the early era. So this is era of early life. In Proterozoic, the most important event is the origin of invertebrate. Okay, so origin of invertebrate. So this is very important. First of all, we will talk about the origins and the abundance or the dominance of animals, and then we will be talking about the plant kingdom. So here you can easily remember this, that in the Azoic era, in the Archeozoic era, we have the origin of prokaryotes, and in the Proterozoic era, we have the era of early life, that is the origin of invertebrates. Okay, and first eukaryotes also originated in the Proterozoic era. Now let us talk about the next P, that is the Paleozoic era. So in the Paleozoic era, the most important event was not a single thing, because Paleozoic era can be subdivided into several periods. So let us see what the periods are so that we can understand. So first of all, in the Paleozoic era, we have this trick for you, that is cost of decoration, okay, for party. So if you remember this phrase, you can easily remember the periods of Paleozoic era. So firstly, if you talk about C, it is Cambrian period. Okay, now the Cambrian period is 570 million years ago, and this Cambrian period is very important because of the origin of trilobites. Now if you don't know about trilobites, please search the internet and you will get images of trilobites and it will clear your concepts. Okay, now you know that in the Proterozoic era, origin of invertebrates took place. So it is very easy for us to say that the invertebrates will be in vast number, or the invertebrates will be dominant in the Cambrian period. Okay, so you can say all invertebrates were well established or well spread, or you can say dominant. Okay, so this is very important. The main important events are origin of trilobites and the dominance of invertebrates, and that's very easy to remember. After that, let us talk about this O. This O is for Ordovician period. Okay, it is 500 million years ago from now, and you can clearly say that this is the age of invertebrates, because in the previous period, in the Cambrian period, we can see that the invertebrate number is increasing and they're dominant, but they are increasing throughout this time span, and in the Ordovician they have spread a lot. Okay, so the number of invertebrates is very large, and you can say that this is the age of invertebrates. Okay, the most important event that took place in Ordovician period is the origin of vertebrates. Okay, so the origin of vertebrates and the origin of fishes. So you have to remember this, you have to be careful. This is the age of invertebrates because invertebrates are dominant. They are in large quantities, large numbers, but it is the time when vertebrates originated, fishes originated. Okay, now after O, let us talk about S. S here is for Silurian period. Okay, now the Silurian period is 440 million years ago. Now this is very important because this was the time of origin of jawed fishes, so fishes with jaws, and wingless insects. Search any standard book and you will get all this information. I'm just making it clear and easy for you. Okay, so wingless insects in the Silurian period. Now let us talk about the next period of Paleozoic era, and this is called the Devonian period. Okay, so let us talk about Devonian period. The Devonian period is very important and it was in 400 million years. Okay, and this Devonian period is called the age of feces. So it is very common to and very easy to say, because feces originated in the Silurian period, and that's why it is natural that they will proliferate in the next period. Okay, so in the Devonian period, feces proliferated a lot and they were dominant, and for this the Devonian period is called the age of feces. Okay, now it is also important for another event, which is the origin of amphibians. Okay, amphibians. Now, one more important point is that spiders. So this is the period when amphibians and spiders originated, and that is very important to be remembered. Okay, now let us talk about the next period, and this is called the Carboniferous period. Okay, so CO, this is the COR, that is Carboniferous period. Now the Carboniferous period is 350 million years from now, and the most important thing here is that it is the time period when origin of reptiles and winged insects took place. But you can easily say that the amphibians which originated in the Devonian period proliferated, or they were in abundance, or they were abundant in the Carboniferous period, as I've told before. So it is called the age of amphibians. Okay, so this is also called the age of amphibians. Okay, now let us talk about the next period that comes here, that is the Perti. Perti means, let me come here, so you are going like this. Okay, now you are coming here, and that's very funny. So for Perti we have Permian. Okay, so this is the Permian period, and this Permian period is 280 million years ago. Okay, now this Permian period is very important because of the extinction of trilobites and origin of mammals, like reptiles and most modern insects. Okay, so just remember that extinction of trilobites took place in Permian period, and origin of mammals like mammals like reptiles, and modern insects took place in the Permian period. Okay, so that's very important, and every standard book gives this type of informations, but I'm just helping you to memorize the periods of the Paleozoic here in the correct sequence. Okay, so you can see that we are first talking about the animal kingdom, the animals that originated one by one in the periods of time. Now we'll be talking about other things. For example, Mesozoic era. Okay. Now, before talking about this, let me tell you that the Ordovician period is also called the age of giant mollusks. Okay, so the Ordovician is also called the age of giant mollusks. Okay, because of their abundance in this period.